So really that's our message to everybody, just to look at us as an example of, in a lot of ways, on paper or just walking past each other, we couldn't be any more different. But in a lot of ways, it's actually funny to me how similar we are.
Yeah.
And get outside your comfort zone a little bit, because we bust on each other a lot, and we make a lot of jokes to our differences.
Hey, Jack Lehr here, down in Lehr's Lair for the Lehr Podcast. And I got to meet this incredibly special human who entered my life, and we didn't know each other. We knew of each other, and we had perception issues of one another. So I'm super grateful, and we're going to talk about that today. But Jerry Riggleman.
Hi, everybody.
So Jerry Riggleman is a local real estate professional here in the York, Pennsylvania area.
Yep.
Jerry, how long have you been licensed?
7 years.
7 years.
Yeah, just started.
And he's a killer, okay? He is killing it out there. I think you have like 7 listings coming up, you told me?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I mean, sorry.
It's okay.
Sorry, guys.
You don't need to be sorry here. All I ask is we have lots of energy, okay? Can you bring energy today?
Yeah, I can.
And by the way, the funny thing is that Jerry is like 4'2", and right now he's 6'2". I have a ladder sitting right here. He's not quite 4'2". I'm picking on you.
More like 4'8".
Okay. Again, just bring lots of energy. Let's bring a lot of help. Let's help people out there.
Okay.
You good?
Let's
you
do
good
it.
with that? Cool. So, little story. Jerry didn't know Jack. Jack didn't know Jerry. Like, we knew of each other. Mm-hmm. Like, we've had some successes. Jerry has some successes. Sometimes, you don't know, and then you get to know somebody, and you're like, wow. So, am I allowed to talk, like, freely?
Go ahead.
Okay, good deal. So, I'm married to a woman. Jerry's married to a man.
That is true.
Okay, so that's, sometimes people have perception issues and go, oh, geez, like, they're not like me, so I can't be a part of what you're about.
And I have to tell you, I think I probably was more guilty of that than you.
Really?
Yeah. Because, in this world, particularly the world we live in now, everybody does judge everybody. And nobody wants to know anybody unless they think like them. And I guess I was probably more guilty of that because, we both happen to work for the same company now, but we were at different companies.
Yeah.
And, through other people's opinions or transactions, you do have a vision of what somebody is or how they think or how they act. And it's not until you actually get to know them a little bit that you realize,
yeah,
maybe I was wrong.
So what made us connect and have that conversation?
So when we both joined Real, it's been kind of sitting on me a little bit of, we should probably get to know each other a little bit. And okay. I, with all due respect, saw a couple of your videos and I always had a different opinion. And it was actually my husband that said, do you even know the guy? Have you ever talked to him? And I'm like, well, no, but he's like, well, then why don't you just call him? So we went camping, and that's when he actually said that to me. So I picked up the phone and called you.
Nice.
And it wasn't until we actually really started talking that I'm like, okay, that's not how I thought that would go. I mean, so, it's interesting that you just want to kind of reach out and learn.
Yeah.
Educate yourself.
So, like, you had to maybe put your ego aside. Mm-hmm. We both did, right? Mm-hmm. A little bit. Mm-hmm. And I was willing to meet you. I just didn't know you. You reached out to me through somebody that we knew, got my phone number, and we connected.
Yeah, and I'm going to be honest and say that because you're so aggressive in a lot of ways, and aggressive in a good way, but because you put yourself out there so much and you do so much business all over the country, I guess there was a little bit part of me that thought, okay, he's a pompous jerk. And so that was my own issue. And, again, because I'm, I do good business here locally, and because I am openly gay, you may have had a vision of, okay, well, he's not going to like me because I don't know anything much about that world.
Yeah.
And so because of that, we both just did our things, and it wasn't until we said, okay, somebody's got to pick up the phone here.
Yeah.
And, again, I think Real helped that a little bit with both of us in a roundabout way because, I felt a little bit like a hypocrite because our company's motto really is work hard, be kind.
Yeah.
Well, we both work hard. Yeah. And not that we weren't being kind to each other, but, how can we be kind to somebody if we don't know anybody? We don't know each other. So, I kind of felt like, we owe it to the company. We now work for the same company. We're in the same market. So it's kind of stupid that we don't at least have a conversation. And if the conversation didn't go well, or hey, you know what, you do you, I do me, and then,
At least
you know,
we tried, right?
Yeah. But it wasn't till that phone call that you're like, shit, we're really more similar than we are.
So the phone call took place, and then we texted and we got together for a meeting, and we were going to have lunch afterwards. And we were probably going to meet like 15, 20 minutes at the office. I invited Sarah. You know, everybody needs a Sarah down to the meeting. And
I'm looking for a Sarah, by the way. I'm looking for my Sarah.
Sarah, you've signed a 90-year contract with me. I'm going to live another 150 years, but whatever. So we get together, and we just start having a conversation, and like it was very transparent.
Oh yeah.
There was no bullshit there.
One thing that I thought negative about you was actually the thing I liked the most about you, was the fact that you are what you are, and you don't care what people think to a point.
Yeah.
You're genuine in the sense that I'm genuinely me, so you're not going to change me. And I like the fact that we just laid it out on the line. Like, look, you know, we have 3 minutes here. Let's not bullshit each other.
Yeah.
You know, I had this opinion of you. You had this opinion of me. What do you think?
Yeah.
I mean, that's really what it was.
It was. It's, you know, sometimes people are afraid to open up and be genuine because, you know, we live in a very, very fake world. You know, I'm on social media, and guess what they see? They see Jack Lehr.
Yeah.
Jack Lehr here. They see all the great things about me. They don't see the bullshit that comes alongside of it. And I have plenty, just like anybody else. I'm human. Make mistakes, do stupid, but we make mistakes. And we went in for this 15, 20-minute-ish meeting. We ended up spending an hour and a half together.
Yeah.
And we were like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I mean, you inspired me to come down here and shoot a reel about just understand somebody.
Well, see, and that's the thing that I liked about doing this, because we are so different in a lot of ways. I mean, our personalities are different. Like, I'm really nervous right now, and you do this every day. And, you know, there's an agent in our marketplace that you've had on here that, you know, reminds me similar to you, and I adore him. He's a really good person. His story's great.
Yeah.
But his personality is like yours, and a lot of people in our marketplace, or just people in general, have a vision of saying, well, you know, I'm not like him, so I can't get that kind of business. And I always believe that be you, be genuine. And so what's interesting is that you're used to doing this, I'm not. But you're helping me, and I'm helping you to learn a little bit about each other, how we can help everybody else.
Most definitely.
And I think the moral of this is just, in the world that we live in, and this is just the seriousness of it, in the world we live in today, we need more love and care and respect. You know, everybody is angry, you know, and they're upset, they're bitter, life's hard.
Yeah.
And we are in a position that we do have a little bit of an audience, and we work for a company that really embraces being kind. So I feel like it is a little bit of our obligation to show people that, hey, we even do it, but we need to remind everybody else that sometimes we have to take a step back and have it be politics, have it be anything else, have it be gay, straight. You know, you just don't know. We're all still human. And at the end of the day, we're all just trying to make money, pay our bills, and have a little bit of money left over.
So let's talk about some of the commonalities, because the commonalities were the things we're like, whoa. So we're there with Sarah, and we're talking, and Jerry goes, well, I love NASCAR. I'm like, okay. Right? And your family has a what?
A sprint car.
A sprint car.
Yeah.
So you have that, and then Sarah goes, well, you know, Jack loves Broadway. He can sing all these show tunes. I cannot sing them to the point where you'd want to hear them, but like my sister had me on this up on Broadway on Wicked. She went to NYU. She's in the entertainment world, and a lot of her friends are on Broadway. So like growing up at age 7, we went to go see Annie. My sister fell in love with New York City. That's what took her to NYU.
Which is really funny, because I'd have to really think about some words of a play, or like, it's just not me. You know, so it's funny that you know the words, but yet here's the gay man that goes to NASCAR races, and you know, I mean.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I've never been to a NASCAR race.
And camping. I mean, like, I have a motorhome, and you know, most people think.
Well, that's called glamping, by the way.
Yeah, that is true.
Okay.
That is true. Heaven forbid our washer and dryer isn't working. but I mean, it's just funny. Again, you know, people think that because you're gay, you can only go to gay cruises or gay this, and at the end of the day, it just happens to be just a part of you. It's no different than you just happen to be straight. Yeah. But I think it's funny though.
It is funny, the diversity thing, and like us coming together in the sense of just collaborating and finding ways to help each of us grow our businesses, even in the same market. Yeah. And that's another thing. Like, most people don't have the abundance mentality. Like, that's a big part of my life. But spending that hour and a half, I was like, my gosh, we ended up getting together again. My wife and I and Sarah and her husband went out for a brunch on Sunday morning, and we're sitting there talking, and I said, I'll tell you what. And Sarah's out here in the audience, or there's a big audience here. I love it. She is the audience, along with Shane, who's filming. But I got a little bit emotional and said, man, I really like what Jerry's about. He's like a really great human.
I just want to know, were you thinking of me in the shower? When were you thinking of me?
Okay, so we're going to not go there. We're going to cut that. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
I told you I was going to say something.
We're keeping this in. Like, Jerry likes to have fun and bust chops. So, anyway.
You're.
Yeah, this isn't getting cut out, by the way.
So true things, though.
Okay.
This is exactly how our conversation went.
Yeah.
I mean, when you think about it, when we first met, our true personalities came out, and you can't help but just laugh like, shit, this is nothing that I thought this was going to go.
Yeah.
I mean, it just isn't.
Yeah.
And true story, again, when I got in the car, I called my husband, Steve, and I was like, he's like, how did that go? I'm like, honestly, nothing the way that I would have thought it would go.
Yeah.
Like, I thought I was prepared to walk out thinking, he's a pompous jerk.
He's an asshole, and just that's
and it's not. And again, I got to tell you, I don't want to keep plugging Real, but Real is a good company. But I do believe that Real is some of the reason why we did this, because I can tell you where, coming from a national brand that I was at least in my local market here.
Yeah.
I don't know if I was still there if I would have reached out to you. I don't. I think it's because of Real always loving everybody, no matter the diversity, thing of it. They really do push, care and respect and love and work hard, be kind.
Yeah.
And I think because of that, I felt a little bit of a hypocrite that we're both in the same market and not getting to know each other. So I think that's just another thing that I like about the company, that pushes us to help each other.
Yeah, and it starts from the top down, from Tamir Polig and everybody that's there. There's beautiful hearts that just shine all the way down to everybody.
Truly.
No Agent Left Behind, Work Hard, Be Kind.
Yep.
Again, we're not here to plug Real. We're here to have conversations on how we can help others. And I think this alone, talking about finding the commonality in one another and coming together and find out, my gosh, maybe we can collaborate, maybe we can do something together, and having that abundance mentality, because most people, they think the opposing agent is the enemy.
Yes, you're absolutely right about that. And I even look at this as, even in my own business, my everyday real estate business. I mean, we all go to people's homes and, I mean, I'm guilty of it. You see something, you're like, oh, this lady and I are not going to work well together or whatever. And then you realize, like, they have a lot of shit going on in the world. And they're scared, they're nervous, or they had a bad situation before. And really all it is just taking the time to get to know their situation. And, so I think that why this was important to me to do with you is I think that we need to remind people just to be kind to each other and put your differences aside and find out what are more of the similarities.
Most definitely. Like, the politicians have created a divisive nation, okay?
Yeah.
So, let's find the commonalities in one another and F them. Let's build something special here.
And that's exactly what it is. So really, that's our message to everybody, just to look at us as an example of, in a lot of ways, on paper or just walking past each other, we couldn't be any more different. But in a lot of ways, it's actually funny to me how similar we are.
Yeah.
And get outside your comfort zone a little bit, because we bust on each other a lot, and we make a lot of jokes to our differences.
Yeah.
I mean, we just do.
I think a lot of times we take ourselves too seriously. We think that everybody's staring at us, and probably rarely are we being stared at. We get in front of a stage like this, yes, we get a little bit more of that, but here's the thing. Stop taking yourself so seriously. And I was definitely that guy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think everybody does that to a point. I mean, I think, again, being honest, when I when I was at my other company and I would see you doing stuff, I think for me it was, well, I don't have to be flashy. Like, I want to be super professional. And again, my ignorance of just, well, doing this isn't being unprofessional. It just means that you're opening up yourself to an audience and showing people how you can help them all across the country. And for me, it's just, you're helping me recognize that by me being me, I can really help a lot of people.
Yeah.
And so I think it's fun. I'm enjoying this.
I think there's been some incredible growth opportunities in my lid that I've already actualized based on our original conversation. Mm-hmm. In fact, we're collaborating in one way, with a lead source, which is, I think, a beautiful thing. It's helping Jerry and his team. It's helping us. It's just, I think it's the start of something that could be incredibly beautiful and just let's just help way more people. Let's just don't keep it amongst ourselves.
Well, and that's the thing. So again, a message to everybody out there listening to this is, just because you're different doesn't mean that you couldn't become friends and have a good time, but maybe you're missing out on something bigger, and your closed-mindedness, it could actually hurt you.
Yeah.
I mean, it is. I mean, it's still. I was sitting at my desk this morning, just kind of laughing that I'm coming here. Like, it just makes me laugh in some ways because, on paper we're so different, but we're really not.
Well, we got together for like lunch and drinks, Sarah, Jerry, myself, the day or two after we met, and we talked a little bit about business. And I think the one thing that really, like, you shared some stuff with me. I was like, shit, we need to be implementing that. And like, we're in the Tom Ferry world, coaching world. They call it rip off and duplicate, but I think it's like the best form of flattery that you're taking that person's idea and helping it and putting it into your business, and then you go to them and get help.
Tom Ferry is a great example of that, actually. So my coaching company that I use isn't a Tom Ferry coach.
Yeah.
But two of the biggest things that I use every day in my business, I learned from Tom Ferry. So Tom Ferry puts a lot of information out there on YouTube for free that helps agents. And so he's a great example of sharing your knowledge and ways to help people that really, by me doing, isn't helping him. But it is definitely helping me, so then I spread it to you or vice versa. And, so.
So think about how it's helping. So you shared an idea or two with me that I'm like, wow, that's awesome. And like I've taught on a Loom, I've been a part of Summit, and I get to meet a lot of incredible folks within the Tom Ferry world. And then I go and share that idea that you brought from someplace else, and it inadvertently helped me, just based on a little conversation, and I'm helping other people.
Yeah.
So, again, it's amazing how it gets paid forward when you have a heart of service.
And let's not forget who we're really helping, the actual clients.
You are.
Yeah, I mean, that's what's interesting about it. Yeah. I just got a Google review yesterday. So I had a husband, a gentleman that had to sell his house. Wife passed away, 57 years old, cancer, and she was his best friend, and they loved their home.
Yeah.
So he's tried to stay there, but he just can't live there without her, and he knows he's not going to be able to move on without her. And his review was just, "You're so much more than a real estate agent to me. At a time that you saw me break down, you knew and could sense what I was going through." To him, that was so much more than just a transaction. He wasn't selling a home or a house. He was selling a home.
Yeah.
And that's what I like. And actually how I got that transaction was through a lead source or a lead that I work from another agent that taught me something that I learned 5 years ago.
Yeah.
So
I think so one of the things like I always talk about is like, know your worth, know your value, and make sure you're getting paid that because you're not a discount broker. And we chatted about something, and you were like, huh.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And you might just got a pay raise by just having lunch with us, right?
Well, you're right about that, and it's interesting because I actually took that back to my team. I was like, so let me ask you a question. And they're like, well, it's like, well, what if you did this? So just that lunch, yeah, you're right. And, I don't know, maybe that makes me $20,000 more, maybe that makes me $100,000 more. But the reality is, even though what you taught me, I already kind of knew we should be doing, but didn't have the balls to say, no, we are worth it because we are truly full service.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love it.
That's exactly what it is.
And again, I learned a bunch from you, Jerry. I can't divulge that information today. Actually, we're going to divulge some information today. Let's help these agents out there and folks that are struggling because, again, they're talking about the economy being bad. First of all, turn off the fucking TV. Stop watching the news, number one, right?
Yeah, you're right. And again, we watch two different news channels, I think.
Well, I don't watch it at all.
Okay, well,
but yeah.
If you did, we'd watch two different news
Probably,
channels.
yeah.
But even both of us, I mean, I just said this yesterday to a client. You know, she says, do you think now is a good time to sell? Absolutely, it's a good time to sell. First of all, if it makes sense to you and what's going on in your world. And two, interest rates people are always buying and selling. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you know, the reality is here, at least here locally, we still have more buyers than we do sellers. So it is still a good market. But if you read the newspaper, well, I guess I'm showing my age now. Nobody reads newspaper. But, you know, online or the news or whatever, I mean, they're all saying, you know, the market's crashing. And it's not.
It's far from it.
Yeah.
There's so much data out there to support that the appreciation's there. Remember, when you don't build for 10 plus years, you have such, and then your population continues to grow.
Yeah.
We didn't stop having children, right?
No.
So the diversity thing, like the sharing of information, the abundance mentality, like what are some things that you're doing that could help somebody in real estate right now?
So one of the things that I really do is when I have a transaction close.
Okay.
I'll give you an example. When I have a transaction close, we all send just listed or just sold postcards.
Okay.
I write a letter to the neighbors. And it's really heartfelt. You know, help me find your new neighbor.
Yeah.
I want you to be part of my process on helping you find your new neighbor. You know, if you know anybody thinking, you know, and I've had people reach out to me, not because they knew somebody, but just thought it was a really nice letter.
Yeah.
And it's handwritten and you know, so in my way of looking for business, it's really still kind of coming from a helpful way in a sense of, you know, a neighbor might feel like, oh, that's nice that he's asking us, like, do we know anybody?
Yeah.
And, you know, if they do respond, have it be phone call, text, whatever, well, now they go on my little, you know, drip campaign and I stay in touch with them and they get a Christmas card or whatever. And 8 years from now, when they're ready to do something, well, why don't we call that guy that's always sends us that Christmas card? You know?
It works just like that. Mm-hmm. And it's funny because we were talking before, we were shooting video here today for the podcast, and we talked about, I don't know if I want to share some ideas because, you know, we're in the local market, some people are going to be watching. Mm-hmm. And I want to remind you, there's so many times that you can hand feed somebody and say, you do these two things, you'll make $180,000 a year, and most won't ever show up. So let's just go with abundance and let's help.
What's the statistic or something like that says most agents don't follow up after 2 or something like that, and you know, it takes 4, and if they would only follow up 1 or 2 more times.
Yeah, most agents won't make the first phone call, let alone 1 or 2, and 80% of the revenues in follow-ups 5 through 12. Mm-hmm. Data that's
Something
supported.
Like
that's.
Yeah.
It's simple stuff. Show up, number one.
Mm-hmm.
I always say show up with a grateful heart because that makes a big difference. Have some energy in your life, and then like build your skills.
And more importantly, or equally importantly, be yourself. You know, I think one of the reasons that I'm successful, and I jokingly say this, but it's kind of true. Years ago, so many years ago, before I was in this is something you don't know.
Okay.
Well, you know, I was a lender, but before I got into real estate, I was in mortgages, and I remember. I was at a company, and there was always this loan officer that always kicked my ass, always did more. And I was always number two, but I could never get to be number 1. So I went to my sales manager, and I was like, what am I doing wrong? And he's like, you need to find your niche. I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, well, what is something about you that he can't do, or he's not like you? The only thing I could think was being gay. True story. And now this was, you know, 15, 16, 17 years ago. So I didn't necessarily announce, like, you know, I used to want to say Jerry the real estate fairy, but just didn't have the balls quite to do that.
Yeah.
But my point is, I started realizing, like, maybe that's a little bit of my hang up. So because people would say to me, you know, oh, you know, are you married? You know, if I'm in an appointment, and I would never say, you know, my wife's name's Steve, do any kind of thing. And it's not till recently, I'd say in the last 7 years that I got into real estate, that I started realizing, like, I'm just a real person. And so I always jokingly say being gay actually helps me in some ways, because the men like me because I'm a little redneck in the sense that I like sprint car racing and I like NASCAR. So I can relate to them there. But the women like me because I am still genuinely caring,
Yep.
and I do understand like your counter should not look like this. You know what I mean? Let's have that conversation. So I guess what I'm trying to say is, while you're helping people, be yourself.
Yeah.
You know, because you can be completely yourself, and a seller or a buyer may not be attracted to it. You know, but that doesn't mean I can't help them.
Yeah.
You know.
I think that's the big thing is like that being yourself. We're sometimes we're afraid to be.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Here's the one thing you don't have to worry about: the listening audience will never smell your breath.
Seriously?
And guess
That's
what?
funny.
We're far enough apart that I'm not going to.
I was just gonna say, my mouth was dry. Goodness. You know, I put stuff in my mouth.
That's okay. We'll move on.
Okay, so one thing you guys don't realize,
Okay.
we're really trying to tone this down for this podcast because there's a lot of jokes that I think we both could have said that if the cameras were not running, we would be joking about. And that's really where it comes down to our friendship, in the sense that I would have never thought that I could say the things I say to you, or earlier I had you speechless, that you just didn't know what to say. And part of that is just like, I can't believe this man just said this to me. So I say it even more because it's actually fun to me.
Yeah.
But it's also neat that you give it right back to me. So
Yeah.
we got to keep this a little PG here.
Yeah.
But the reality is, be yourself, have fun, and don't judge people. I mean, that's really what it comes down to.
I think when you drop the F word, it may make it an R or a PG-13 or something like that. So sorry about that, but I'm really not. So like Jerry's a real human, right?
Yeah, I mean, that's what it comes down to.
Yeah.
You know, and so, you know, it just, we wanted to make sure that everybody understood that even us, you know, as much as we are meeting people, but, you know, I mean, I'll say me, I was probably just more guilty about it than anybody else, in the sense that I had this whole vision. And so we were trying to think, like, he invited me on to the podcast, and, you know, what should we talk about? And everybody can talk about real estate as a whole, and I think the biggest thing that we can bring to this is just reminding people in the world we live in today, don't judge, and get to know somebody, and ultimately do everything from an abundance of care.
Love it. So our office is right next to a Starbucks, and most times I'll order, but every now and then I'll go through the drive-through, and probably at least half the time I pay for the person behind me. I'm just hoping they didn't order $70 worth of freaking Starbucks, but that could be the case. I had one that was like 40 or something, but I was like, just pay for me, see, $40. Well, I already said yes. Okay, okay, but pay the stuff forward. Here's a big difference too. So I was the guy that never smiled with my teeth. I would go, and then Kate Fairchild, my coach, says, stop that. Sarah said, stop that. Start doing this. And guess what? When people see the smile that don't know me, I see a smile back.
Yeah, that's true.
So I just affected their energy level by just making this happen. Because something happens when you do that.
And Steve and I have actually kind of started doing that. You know, I don't know how personal it get here, but I will tell you. I mean, everybody knows that I have a son that's 21.
Okay.
Or will be 21.
Now everybody does.
Yeah, and he's black.
Okay.
And we adopted him, obviously. And so I guess naturally my heart goes out to black people a little bit more, just because I see my son all the time. You know, and I'm like,
Yeah.
But I find myself in the world we live in. I always wave to people, open doors, say hi. And we do the same thing. We were just at a diner the other night, and there was a really cute older couple there. I mean, I thought they were married like forever.
Yeah.
So of course we're leaving it, and I said, okay, so how long have you been married? She looks at him. She goes, do you want to tell him a story? So they were married 42 years, got a divorce. How sad is that after 42 years getting a divorce?
Yeah.
But they got a divorce, and 20 years later they had to bury a child, one of their adult children. At the funeral, they reconnected. They've been married 7 years since.
Wow.
And so we, of course, paid for their dinner and stuff. And last night yesterday we went in for breakfast, and the manager said they were just so taken back that somebody bought their dinner. They might think it was us because we were talking to them, but it made us feel good knowing that we might have made a difference in their day.
I bet you made a huge difference.
Yeah. So. Yeah. And I think if everybody across the country would just do that, just do one little thing like that.
So
hold the door.
these are ways to not only make our world better, but also to grow your business. Okay, right?
Yeah, yeah, you're
Because
absolutely
you do
right.
that and you just say, hey, listen, because so everybody talks about having an inventory problem in today's market. I think we have a follow-up problem in agents who won't make a call and
Or open their mouth. Open their mouth.
wear
So,
a pin and let them know what you're doing.
Well-
you wearing that right there. What's real?
I get that. I actually
There
do
you
get
go.
that. I do get
Exactly.
that. And I say to my agents all the time, just open your mouth. Sometimes just say, so what do you do for a living? People like to talk about themselves,
Yeah.
but naturally they'll probably ask you what you do for a living.
Most do.
And every one of us probably at some point in our career got a lead and a transaction because we opened up our mouth.
Yes.
I mean, that's just how it works. And sometimes, it might not even be them. True story. I'm closing my largest transaction on Monday. Came from a referral from my smallest transaction.
Really?
The referral came from the guy that owns his company. And had I not helped him, and honestly, I'll be completely honest, the smallest transaction, the guy just wouldn't leave me alone. So I'm like, okay, I'll help. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
2 years later, I'm closing my largest transaction because of him.
Yep.
So again, being a little closed-minded that I might not have helped that guy, but because he wouldn't let up, I did.
Yeah.
And now look.
So we're in a market where maybe 230, 235. I think our team's is like in the 260s, some in that ballpark. And this is over $1 million listing
Yeah.
that you put under
Yeah,
contract.
yeah.
You put it under contract, and it appraised. Well, anyway, it was a great deal for your seller.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes, it was.
Good deal. When does this settle?
Monday.
We'll make sure this airs after that.
Yeah.
I'm just
Thank you.
picking. But it was a great deal for your seller.
Yes.
They killed it. So
Please.
anything else that you're doing in real estate that we could share to help somebody out here today?
I will also tell you something I do that works a lot is when I have a listing and we close it, I
Okay.
send out a letter. But it's a letter from my seller to their neighbors.
Really?
And it says something in the order of, hey, it's bittersweet that we're moving on. I'm sure you know that we listed and sold 123 Main Street. It's just time for a new chapter of our life. We're headed to Florida or whatever the case is. But before we go, we just had to tell you about our real estate agent, Jerry Riggleman. And, the little paragraph, why they chose me
Yep.
or, what happened. And then they say, if you're ever thinking of selling, please keep his information. Here's his phone number. And I mean, it works.
I'm blown away.
It works because it's literally from the seller to their neighbors. And you might only send it around, 10 closest neighbors because you don't want to send it over to the 3rd Street over there in the
Yeah.
same development because they don't know each other.
Yeah.
But it works. It works. Yeah. Got that from Tom Ferry too.
So, it's the stuff that's out there, available to everybody. Jerry's implementing it, and it's making a difference in his business.
Mm-hmm.
My team's not using it. I would challenge my team to start doing this. I would challenge everybody out there to start doing this. These are the things that can make an incremental difference. And if you can increase your business 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 or 5% on all these little adjustments.
Well, and again, let's not forget it's more than just that transaction. Yes, you get a neighbor, but then the neighbor might know somebody.
Yeah.
Or, I've closed 6 transactions from a lead that I almost didn't take serious. It was a lady in Hanover in our marketplace, and she called me, and honestly, I thought it was like one of those scam things or spam or whatever. It just didn't sound right, and I almost hung up. And I'm like, okay, well, I'm just going to listen a little bit. Next thing you know, I listed that house because she was legitimate.
Yeah.
Listed it, had the buyer that was able to buy without selling, but they had a house to sell.
Okay.
Sold their house, and ended up having that buyer too.
Couple double sides.
Yeah, and
Wow.
then they referred multiple people.
Wow.
So it's just following up. I mean, that's really what it is.
Yeah.
That's really what it
Stay in
is.
touch with your database, stay in touch with past clients sphere, and just being there for them.
And we have what I'm about to say. We have to be careful because you can go broke throwing money at everything. But I think a lot of the things that agents do wrong is they don't want to spend any money.
Yeah.
It is a business. You do have to spend money. Some things are going to work and some things are not going to work. Some things you're going to feel like you wasted your money on. But at the end of the day, you got to spend some money on your business.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to put in a little bit of some some added information there that would be I think would be very helpful is always be testing, and don't just do it for 30, 60, 90 days. Like certainly go into it with a 6-month mentality. And if it doesn't work, again, you're always testing and then you're grabbing the stuff that does work. But you got to make the investment, right?
Yeah, yeah. And invest in yourself.
Beautiful.
Yeah, because again, kind of, even though I had a judgment of you, there was a reason I would plug in because I either watch these things or you're at an event. And one thing you said to me recently is just, you got to invest in yourself. You got to go to these things because you will, if you pick up one nugget, So I think I would just tell agents also, invest in yourself, invest in the business, treat it like a business.
One of the things we started doing with our team is just like sending out video texts to like some local agents to build relationships. Because like, let's just say I'm representing my buyer. Jerry has a listing. He doesn't know who the heck I am. And I call him and go, hey, I have a buyer. Like they really want to buy your house. And Jerry's like, another one of them. But guess what? You got a video from me the week before and you say, hey, Jerry, I know you have some listings coming up. I might have some buyers coming your way. I'm just looking forward to getting to know you. So maybe we can build a relationship. And you send it. Done is better than perfect. No edits. Boom. And all of a sudden that goes out because you might have gotten one from me, right?
Yes. And I'll tell you, I'm a great example of somebody that overanalyzes it. Instead of just taking a damn video and I'm worried, does my hair look right? Am I breaking out today? Yeah, whatever.
Which those were concerns today, right?
Yeah. But you just had to point that out. But
he's not.
But my point is, I'm that person that would stand there for 25 minutes on a 30-second text message because I just didn't think it sounded right.
Yeah.
And then I wouldn't send it.
Yeah.
To where, like people like you, shout out to Dylan Matson, same thing. He don't care what he looks like. He don't care. He just, because you just made a comment.
We kind of look okay, though.
You just made a comment. You said, how did you say it now? I can't remember. But you said something like, done
is better than perfect.
Yeah.
Done is better than perfect.
And what's that saying? You can't say the wrong thing to the right person. Just do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you've taught me that a little bit too, getting outside my comfort zone a little bit and not overanalyzing it and not overthinking it.
I love it.
Yeah. Because one thing that you have done so much better than me is get yourself in front of so many other agents to build your business.
Yeah.
And I do a really good small business, but I do have that desire to help other agents make money by doing my systems.
Yeah.
But I am forcing myself through you and learning from you of don't think about it. Don't overanalyze it. Just do it.
Yeah. So, Jerry, you're growing your business, right? You're going to grow a team.
Yes.
You have a small team right now.
Yes.
He wants to grow his business. So there's agents out there in the local market that match up with what Jerry's about. Have a conversation with them. Here's the deal. We're growing our team too. We're in the same market, abundance mentality. There's going to be people who match up with what we're about. There's going to be people who match up with what you're about. There might be some ones in between that match up with both of us. It's okay.
They're called bisexual.
Okay. Anyway, there's a fit for someone in one of our teams potentially.
Well, and again, we're a great example of this. Some people, particularly in our local marketplace that knows both of us, might be like, why would they be doing this? Knowing both of us. Because somebody might be attracted to you, somebody might be attracted to me, whatever the case is. But the whole purpose of this is showing people that we can be different, but we want to help people.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter who you are or what you think or who you love. We just want to help people.
Most definitely. And again, I'm hated and loved. Probably mostly hated, but I have plenty of love. And I think the thing is...
Why do you think that is? Why do you think people hate you?
I think because I'm a hardcore accountability person. And there's a lot of people that don't want to live up to that. And then they find a little excuse to justify their inability to be held accountable. And simple. It's human nature. It's finding a way, an excuse, and then believing that excuse. We tell ourselves so many lies, and it's real easy to jump onto those lies, right?
So I'm going to say something on here that how long have we known each other? A week and a half? Seriously, in a week and a half that we've since we connected, that I've learned from you. And actually, my husband noticed it. So I'm not that real estate agent, and I think most agents are going to relate to this. Most agents fit into more of my role than your role.
I agree.
And I think there's a large amount of us that look up to people like you and wish we had the balls or And when I say the ball is like, the ball is to take the risk to do it. The ball is to say, you know what, I'm just going to do this. I have been saying for at least 5 years I'm building a team. Every damn year, at the end of the year, that's my goal. I'm going to do it. And this year, it just happened to be, again, with Real. I will say, Real helped me in a lot of ways. There's so many wonderful people in this company throughout the country that has helped me educate myself a little bit on how to do it.
Yeah.
But it wasn't until the last week and a half, just some of the things you say to me and some of the things you've taught me has really made me start thinking how to look at this truly as a business. Jerry Riggleman is a business, not just Jerry Riggleman, the real estate agent.
Yeah.
Because I find myself doing so much business, and I'm dedicated to that. But by the time that I get to work on my business, it's 9:39. I'm tired.
Yeah.
You know, and you've helped me a little bit with that. And it's interesting because Steve said to me, he goes, I think that Jack's actually what you needed. I said, what do you mean? He goes, because he's going to put you in your place. He's going to tell you, I don't want to hear the excuses. This is what you're doing. If you want it bad enough, you're going to get it done. And so I could see where somebody might not like you simply because of that. But at the end of the day, that's really what it takes.
Yeah, that's a them problem.
Yeah.
I used to think it was a me problem. That's a them problem. Like, I'm far from perfect. I understand that. But I also realize that, somebody's going to have a problem with me. It's mostly a problem with themselves. So that's just the way it is. And again, we don't always match up with everybody personality-wise.
And it's all about timing, too. It's all about timing.
Yeah.
I mean, I think there was a small part of me that, again, really pushing myself to try to get out there to grow and change my mindset a little bit. So it's funny that it's you, but you're the person that's helping me with that. But I think that you're changing over as time goes on, too, of learning how to be abundance of if you give more, you get more.
Yeah.
And you want to spread your knowledge to help people to where maybe 5 years ago we wouldn't have been in the same mindset.
I probably just wanted to help my own people, and I wanted to be out of the limelight.
Yeah.
I hid behind, I would be down here. I just don't want to be up here in this. But last 2 years made a big difference, and certainly in the last year, not that I love this stuff, but I'm comfortable with it because I got uncomfortable. Diamonds, pressure.
That's a great thing. Yeah. So I think if we could help anybody out there, there's probably a lot of real estate agents out here that's kind of thinking a little bit, could relate to both of us in some ways or certain things. And I think that one of the things we really wanted to do was show people that, besides the fact of don't have preconceived notions of each other and, respect people and get to know people, but even within our business, how can we help each other? You give me a nugget, I give you a nugget, but by you teaching me on, in a sense, how to really be a hard ass on myself of looking at this as a business, not just Jerry Riggleman, the real estate agent.
Yep.
You're helping me. I mean, I can look back 5 years from now and I'll still laugh that, where I'm at 5 years from now versus 5 years ago, that you had a role to play with that. I mean, I wouldn't have thought that, but that's what's fun.
I want to help you grow your team.
That's what's fun.
Jerry's growing his team. So if you're an agent in the York, Pennsylvania area, you think you match up with what Jerry's about, my goodness, hit him up.
Yeah.
Again, I have abundance mentality. If you think you're the right fit for something that we're doing, we run very, very high level achieving sales teams. And again, I'm not out here, this isn't about the self-promotion stuff. I want to help this guy. Jerry's growing his business. Hit him up directly. Contact information to be here for you. Jerry, do you have anything else to share with our audience today?
There's a lot of things I'd like to say that I probably can't say on here, only because,
I don't know.
No, seriously, I think really my whole goal here, and yours too, is just show people that two people that didn't think we could be friends are more similar than we are different. And if you put your egos aside, and I'm talking as me as a person, or your judgment aside, what can you learn from each other?
Oh, yeah.
How can you actually help? And by helping each other, maybe there's a real estate agent out there that's sitting at a red light right now thinking, I'm just not happy. I'm not happy where I'm at. This is year 4, and it's like, I just can't get over that 6,000 or that 6 million mark, or I just want to be around people that is going to help and push and honestly have a lot of fun. Because one thing I will say, you don't get much more real than us, and I try not to be a stuffy real estate agent. I just don't.
Yeah.
I try to be me. And I like to have a lot of fun and laugh, because I think laughter is the best medicine. But so I would say if I want to add anything, it's just put your judgments aside and help people, because by you helping people and being kind to people, it's going to come back to you.
It'd be rewarded manyfold.
And it's going to just make you feel good. It just does make you feel good.
And when you feel good, you smile and it helps somebody else, right?
That's true. That is very true.
What do you have a question for me? You can ask me anything. With you, Jerry?
What should I ask, Sarah?
Almost anything.
So,
Go for it.
okay. So let me ask you a question. I told you what I had a perception of you.
Okay.
I'm just curious, what did you think of me, or what were you envisioning of me when we weren't friends?
Oh, great question. The unfortunate part, we live in a society that no matter what I say, I can get judged very heavily, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So let me guess, you were thinking, he's gay, so probably a lot of drama, super flamboyant, and not that you thought that necessarily negative, but you probably had that natural thought, because unfortunately in my world, in the gay world, there does tend to be some drama, because we do tend to be a little flamboyant, and I guess that's where I'd like to change that perception a little bit.
Yeah.
Because again, I like NASCAR, and I try to be a good person, I try to care about people, and I try to just be me, and I do me, if you will. But that's interesting, because I kind of figured, as much as I thought you were a jerk, you probably thought I was some flamboyant little gay boy out there, and it's just funny because we're a little bit of both.
You said it, not me, right?
Yeah. I mean, we're a little bit of both.
Well, I mean, here was the great news. So I have business partners in Texas, Charles and Terry. They're a gay couple.
Yeah.
Guess what? Okay, guess what? They're my partners in business. They're my friends. We do business together.
Are
Okay.
they Cowboys?
They're from Dallas. Yeah. So a Dallas Cowboy, maybe.
You're gonna have to introduce me sometime.
Okay. Very good.
My husband's not watching this.
Very good. I'm sure Stephen isn't watching.
But isn't that funny though, that again, just going back to perception.
Yeah.
Not necessarily a negative thing. I mean, I thought you were maybe a little cocky, but that's not necessarily a negative thing. It was actually my negative thing, thinking of you negatively, to where your cockiness was actually probably more of just an overabundance of trying to be you and help people. That's interesting how you can look at something and have your own judgment, not necessarily.
Remember, it all goes back to the commonality. Let's be kind to one another and not get caught up in labels, not get caught up in colors.
Yeah.
Like all the foolishness that comes alongside,
Yeah.
and then it hits social media, and then somebody takes it out of context, and guess what they do?
Yeah.
They start shaming you.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's interesting. Yeah.
It is. It is very interesting.
What do you think what changed in your life that made you look at yourself differently to say, I want an abundance of, you had mentioned that before it was all about your team.
Well, I've always had an abundance mentality, but some stuff changed in my world, and nothing personal side, but except for the self-value, self-worth, and then again, I talk about this. My incredible Sarah Kane and my coach Kay Fairchild and Tom Ferry, we did this evaluation. It's called the Ultimate Life Tool. In fact, you know what, Kay Fairchild, I'm gonna do it for Jerry, and then Jerry will truly understand himself at a way higher level. But we did this Ultimate Life Tool, and it's DISC, personality. It's so much more. It's like that on steroids. It's like 10x of that. And it helped me understand that I'm way bigger than what I thought I was, and I'm way more than what I thought I was. And then because I'm naturally an introvert, I would rather sit with my 4 sons and my wife and watch Netflix from 7 p.m. to 8:30 p.m. when I go to bed. But I get up between 2 and 3. So,
Do you really?
Yeah,
2 or 3?
Crazy early. Between 2, sometimes I don't even sleep. 2, 3, 4 a.m.
Does he expect you to be awake?
I am awake.
Oh.
I have the same sleep pattern.
Yeah, Sarah Kane has a sleep pattern. Like we text and share stuff about our business. And
Okay, so I'm never complaining about 6 a.m. again.
no, you shouldn't complain about 6. If I could sleep into 6, I did it 1 or 2 times recently after surgery. But I think that self-belief really helped me realize my potential. And then also, I started doing some of these public events and speaking and helping some people. And they're like, will you coach me? And I said, I have no interest in coaching you, man, or young lady, or whoever it was. And I realized the value that I was bringing to people. And like for free. Mm-hmm. And there's always a way to monetize it. But I think the one thing that I understood that it just gave me such, it really increased my self-value. My self-value went up a ton, even though I was a confident human in the past, and people saw me like as this confident, cocky, maybe cocky sometimes. There was all this little stuff going in my head, and I was given all this credibility to, in the movie of my life, cab driver number 3, bouncer number 7, and not the main characters. And that was my big difference in my life.
Well, I could sense that something had changed, only because, first of all, I guess what changed a little bit is my judgment, but I could tell that you're not the same person that you were 5 years ago. I can sense it.
I'm definitely
not. I can sense it, yeah.
Yeah.
And, again, here's somebody that you're completely helping in some ways that you're helping me with that same feeling of saying, Jerry, you're bigger than this.
Yeah.
You have so much more help to give people, and it's okay. It's okay to help each other.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's good.
This is great.
Do you have any other questions for me?
You know what? I think we did pretty good here today.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm super grateful that you joined us. I'm just going to say, if this helped you, if this made sense to you, if it somehow you think it makes sense for somebody else, please share, like, subscribe. And I'm super grateful that I got Jerry Riggleman here today on the Lehr Podcast.
Thank you, man.
I don't know if they could see that hug. Make your day great.
Yeah.